Hi guys, exeter-rider, hope you're well. Now this week is my full review of the Harley-Davidson Street Bob 114. From the start, let's talk a little bit about Harley. They've really opened up the gates in the last sort of year or so to trying to get new customers, a new client base. For me, I honestly never thought a year ago that I'd have even tried a Harley-Davidson, let alone had some long-term bike rides of some. I couldn't even tell you what this bike was a year ago, whereas now I've got a lot more educated, and I'm very much I think it's fair to say I'm a Harley fan. This particular bike, it's been an absolute dream to have. You all know how much I like this bike already, so I'll try not to bang on about that too much. But they're so nice to ride, they really are. Self-cancelling indicators. Let's go and see what it's like on the pulls like a train. Just a real pleasurable ride. And all that torque low down as well is just perfect for this type of riding. And it's one of those bikes, much like the Royal Enfields, I find, where you can just sit and just ride it and you don't feel like you need to go fast because you're just looking around. You're not only enjoying the ride but enjoying the scenery as well. I really like those sort of bikes. Yes, it will go like stink if you really want it to, but it's like now I'm not in any rush at all. I'm just enjoying and taking in the scenery. I'm comfortable all around. My shoulders are really comfortable as well because I suffer with achy shoulders on bikes. And you just feel so much power under your feet, so much torque. Let's open her out, knock it down a few gears. Yeah, they really go very well, these bikes, but in a strong sort of sense rather than an abrupt sort of fast acceleration sense. So we've got the nice speedo down there with the revolutions as well, showing us what's going on there, and a gear indicator. So I'm in 6th gear, 67 miles per hour at just 2,500 RPM. And of course there's absolutely loads left, loads and loads. Wind blast, I'm getting all of the wind, but it is mainly on top and ironically just on my arms, whereas my legs and my torso are totally clear of any turbulent air. So although it's very much a naked bike, I suppose you could say, I'm finding it okay, and I just don't really care really. I'm just enjoying the ride. And it's strange reviewing bikes when this is such a strong element of a review, is wind blast on dual carriageways. And in this case, honestly it doesn't matter because the bike is so nice to ride. It's all part of the journey. But certainly in the summer you're going to be you better take your visor cleaner with you because you're going to attract the flies, that's for sure. But that's all part of it. It's Harley-Davidson. It's very stable. I'm not getting any vibrations, some through the bars perhaps, but nothing down on the engine area. That's all very clean and not vibrating at all. And as I say, you just feel like you've got so much power, you could just do a lot of distance on this bike. Roll on power, if I kick it down to 4th, so again, it's just a very strong torquey type of power from that V-twin. But again, you just don't want to do that on bikes like this. you just want to sit back and enjoy the ride, enjoy the scenery. Right, so let's go and see what it's like in town. Well then guys, so let's see what the Harley-Davidson Street Bob is like in traffic. It's not a particularly flickable bike, but at the same time we've got the relatively narrow tyres, in Harley terms at least, which does make it relatively flickable to some level. But it is a long wheelbase and there is quite a rake on that front wheel. But having said that, it is a large wheel as well, so it does help. People can hear you from a mile off, and it's absolutely loads of torque to quickly squirt past cars or lorries or whatever. Visibility wise, I feel actually quite comfortable with that, because it is a relatively high up bike. The people in their wing mirrors can see me, and I can see them very well, and I can see if they've seen me through their rear view mirrors. And so overall I'm not finding it too bad. It's just what you'd expect really. You still kind of rather be out on open roads, of course, but with the amount of torque that you get from this engine is quite nice just to tick around in first and second gear, whereas on most bikes I'll probably be in third now, maybe even fourth. And of course you got that noisy engine as well, which does help keep people aware of you. Off the lights, you're not gonna, there's no car that's gonna beat you off the lights, I can guarantee you that. Not that I'm gonna try it here because it's a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit, but it'll get you out of trouble if you need to get out of trouble. And it's strange, when you're on a bike, and I'm sat here now and I'm still enjoying being on the bike even though I'm stuck at the lights. How strange is that? Probably because I got the engine ticking away. It's funny when you pull away and you really got to hold on to the bars whilst accelerating at the same time. I go fourth gear, look, and just coasting along lovely at 15,000, no not 15,000, 1500 RPM. Just lovely, just a real joy just to tick along and go around town on this bike, really is. So let me run you through some of the specification of the Harley-Davidson Street Bob. The 114 engine works out to 1868 cc of power. It produces 86 horsepower at 5,020 RPM. Now that might not sound a lot, but this bike is all about the torque, which it produces 155 Newton meters of torque at 3,250 RPM. The bike to ride is absolutely superb. It really is. It's a real riding experience every time I pull this bike out of the garage and go out on it. So one of the questions you might have is, what is it like to clean? Well, it's not going to be easy. We've got the spoked wheels and it is relatively finicky. But I say that in a nice way. You wouldn't want this bike any other way. We've got the push rod housings as well, which go up through, which are chrome. But really, I mean, that's pretty much the only chrome that you've got, is because it is all powder coated. So you can hose it off, you know, after you've been out for a ride, and most of it will just fall off, or most of the dirt. Seating wise, it's very comfortable indeed on the rider seat, and I've got a decent lumbar support on the back as well. Very easy to reach the pegs and the brake. You know, I'm not pushing forward too much on the brake lever there. Handlebars are lovely height. I really like the height of the handlebars there, which is one of the best points about this bike. Switchgear is easy to use. The mirrors, I can see right past my shoulder. Just overall, it's just a cracking looking bike, and it's as good as it looks. It rides that well as well. But for the Pillion, it is a very small seat, and you may want to upgrade this if you are going to be carrying
a Pillion for any period of time. It is very hard on the back and it's very narrow and thin, let alone there's no sissy bar on the back as well, which again, you probably want that, or your Pillion would at least. But one of the things I really like about this bike is just the build quality of it. Not only is it finished and everything's fitted nicely, but everything feels proper old school, solid engineering. You know, I mean, I remember the bikes back in the 90s and the early 2000s, and when you sat on a bike, it just, everything felt really chunky and strong. A bit like my BMW R850, actually. That's one of the reasons I bought that bike, because they haven't shaved off any pounds. You know, I think sometimes some companies do go wrong when they try and shave off too much and start adding alloys and things like that. And it actually takes away the strong engineering of the bike. Whereas this, everything's chunky, everything's strong, and you know, great big handlebars and grips here feel really good. Switchgear is, I would say, is almost perfect, to be honest with you. It feels really good, it's very functional, you get good feedback and know that you've pushed the button. It doesn't snick, it just pushes in nicely. And even not having clocks or dials and just having this small LCD readout display, I just really like that. It's just, and I never thought that would really tick my boxes not to have a proper speedo and a rev bar, but it really does. I don't miss it at all. I really like just having that minimalistic look. The mirrors are high up as well, so I can see past my shoulders. They're at a nice width. To ride around town, this bike is a pleasure, and riding it on the motorway as well. You just sit back and just chug along and time stands still. And again, with Harley-Davidson, that is what their bikes are built for. They're all about riding, the riding experience, shall we say. So I'm 5'8", I've got a 30-inch inside leg measurement, and obviously easy to put my feet on the floor. You can tell that it's a heavy bike. It's 297 kilograms weight on this bike. Obviously, because of the low seat height, that doesn't really cause a problem anyway, because you can lean it over quite nicely. And although you feel that it's a big, chunky, heavy bike, it doesn't really feel like it's going to run away with you. So if you're you know, a tad uncomfortable riding bigger bikes or heavy bikes, then this is probably a good option for you, because again, it does handle quite nicely. It is a puppy dog if you want it to be, riding it around town. But again, you know, one flick or a whisper of the throttle, then it does pull. It pulls very, very well indeed. We've got the belt drive as well, which does add its own element of something different. Big chunky forks at the front thing. I mean, I personally would like rear suspension to be a little bit softer, I would say, but that's pretty much it really. Yes, it vibrates a bit on the motorway, but again, it just makes the bike feel alive, and it's all part of the character. I really like the self-cancelling indicators as well. That's a nice touch. So we've got an indicator on the right bar, or blinkers, wherever you're watching from, and one on the left bar, and basically just push which direction you want to go, then go around the corner, it just cancels itself. It's brilliant. And again, that's another thing I like about this bike, is that this bike is very high tech, but to look at it, it looks really basic, and they've got that just right, I think. It's got all the electronics, the fuel injection, the ABS, which is non-intrusive as well, I might add. The self-cancelling indicators, the small dial LCD dash on the front, all the electronics are there, but it just doesn't look like, you know, a bike with electronics. And again, that's something I really like about it. Right, so on the right bar, we got the kill switch there, hazard, and then the start button if you push that down the bottom there, and the right hand indicator, which again is self-cancelling. Other side, left indicator, self-cancelling. Horn, that's a mode selector there, so you can flick between mode A, mode B, a rev bar, and time. High beam, low beam. But overall, if you're somebody who really likes to own a bike that rides well, and you want to open the garage every night and every day to look at a bike like I have, then yeah, I mean, this is going to be right up your street. It really is a nice bike to own and ride. And it's something special as well. You don't really see many of these around. Everybody who sees this bike comes up and says, "Oh, you got Harley, have you?" Yeah, I wish. But no, it's caused a lot of attention, you know, a lot of good attention. And don't forget, there's so many clubs around as well when you own a Harley-Davidson that you can join and go out with other people. You know, you're not alone when you've got a Harley-Davidson. Okay, so to buy the Street Bob, it's £13,995, so it's definitely up there in the cost bracket. Well, you can see what you get and you can see why. It is a big, strong, solid bike. Well, so the bike comes with a 13.2 litre fuel tank. Now, you would have thought that wouldn't take you very far, but I've actually found it not too much of an inconvenience. I thought I was going to have to be in and out of the petrol station all the time. But in fact, because you don't use all of the power on the bike quite often, it does actually last a surprising amount of time. Handling wise, it handles so well because the tyres aren't too wide on this bike. Now, on some Harleys I've ridden, you really have to chuck yourself into the corner over the side of the bike. But on this one, because they're quite narrow, it does actually handle really well. And that front wheel as well, it's just so responsive, and it turns in so nicely, really, really crisp turning. And when you go around the corner, it does hold the line really nicely as well. So as you can tell, overall, I've more than enjoyed having this bike. You know, it's the sort of bike I've had for 10 days now. I wish I took some time off so I could ride it a bit more, because it is so enjoyable. I'm a motorcycle enthusiast, as we all are, and I could ride this bike day in, day out without any issue at all, because I just don't get bored of it. I just love riding this bike. Every time I ride it, it makes, as corny as it sounds, it makes you feel alive. You know, just that little slipstream of life when all your troubles go behind you. Yes, it's got the keyless ride, which I'm not particularly fond of, but for once, that's something which normally irritates me about modern bikes, is keyless ride. I just don't like it. It's so easy to put your keys down, ride off, and remember that you left your keys behind. But anyway, thank you very much for watching this series of videos. I really appreciate it. If you could give it a like and a subscribe, that would be cool. And I'll see you on Monday at 4 PM. Thank you very much for watching, and huge thanks to Harley-Davidson for the experience of having the Street Bob for 10 days. Thank you very much.